he looked to be of flesh and blood, you know. He certainly didn't look like sort of a floating spirit or anything like that. It was like he was there. I mean, there wasn't anything abnormal, except for the fact that he was dead.
My roommate was away for the weekend, and I was home alone. I think it was about 2:30 Sunday morning. I woke from my sleep because there was somebody in the room.
With my Uncle George passing away and what transpired after he died, it only made me think a lot more about afterlife and life and death and being connected to people regardless of whether they're alive or dead.
Every generation has its own personality. It shapes that era's responses to all kinds of situations, like war, like love, and like ghosts. Hello, I'm Morris Chow. Welcome to Ghostly Encounters. Today we'll meet a young man and a young woman who will tell us two very different supernatural tales. Their stories are unrelated, but their responses are similar. And that tells us a lot about contemporary notions of spirituality. Every time somebody thinks they've seen a ghost, they have questions. What is it? What does it tell us about reality, about God? As we try to answer those questions, we have to remember that belief in a spiritual universe does not logically imply belief in God. Some think the spiritual world is simply another dimension of this world, God or no God. Carolyn knows that her great-uncle George had a big influence on her life and her father's life, but he continued to have that influence even after his death.
My great-uncle George was a very honest, hardworking, sincere man. And my Uncle George and my Aunt Gert, they pretty much raised my father. My father was originally a minister with the Mormon Church, and as he became successful as a businessman, and I think as he began to make more money, I think sort of the greed kind of took him over a little bit. My Uncle George had spoken to him before, numerous occasions before he died, that he had to change his ways, that he was straying away from the type of man that he was and could be. My father, I know in his heart that he knew he was right. And that's when he started to go back to university to study theology and try and get back to the roots, you know, of the man that he used to be. And that's when my Uncle George died. And I think that really was a wake-up call for my father. And then my father had the stroke. I think the hardest thing for my father was, I mean, when you can't communicate with language, a lot of people assume that you're mentally handicapped, or you're drunk, or something, you know. That's not in a very positive light.
Steve Goff's stroke left him with aphasia, a language disorder that impaired his ability to speak, but not his ability to understand. For a vital, dynamic man who used the spoken word as an essential part of life, this was, well, devastating. Steve lost his way. He became depressed and angry. He put his life on hold. Carolyn tried valiantly to help her father deal with this change. She often came to visit to offer support and encouragement. Finally, on one of those visits, Steve found the love and hope that gave him the will to turn his life around, but it came from a very unexpected source.
My father had assumed that I would be staying in my Uncle George's room, to which I was adamantly, no way am I doing that at all. I mean, it still smelled like him. You know, it seemed wrong to just be staying in his room, you know, it was still his. And I felt like I was trespassing. I mean, still had all his stuff out on the dressers, his stuff up on the wall. It had that kind of leathery smell that he always had, and wool and leather. It always smelled like wool and leather. And I said, no way, I'm going to sleep on the couch. And my dad, you know, laughed at me. My father didn't believe in anything like ghosts or spirits or anything like that at that point. And so I decided I'd sleep on the couch. And at some point during the night, I remember hearing the front door open. And my Uncle George walked in. His walking stick in his hand like he always had. He always wore kind of tweed, kind of wool pants. He always had this little hat. And he walked in the door, started to walk towards the steps, turned over and looked at me, and continued walking up the stairs to his bedroom. And I mean, of course, I mean, anybody in that situation, I think your first reaction is, what the hell, what's going on? But it's weird. I was really scared and anxious when it first happened, and by the time he kind of tipped his hat to me and started to walk up the stairs, I was really calm. It's weird because you hear people talk about experiences seeing ghosts, and I firmly believe that it's a very personal exchange, and I mean, it's not going to be the same for everybody. But you hear about people, you know, seeing through people and stuff like. No, he looked to be of flesh and blood. You know, he certainly didn't look like sort of a floating spirit or anything like that. It was like he was there. I mean, there wasn't anything abnormal, except for the fact that he was dead. I told my dad the following morning. Bullshit, I think is what he said. Yeah, he didn't believe me. He didn't believe. He's like, oh, you know, you're dreaming. I'm like, no, I wasn't dreaming. You know, I hadn't even gone off to sleep, you know. It's not. Until, you know, a year later when he saw him. And then all of a sudden, you know, it was true. Actually, I'd like to ask my dad a question. Because, you know, we haven't talked a lot about this in a while.
No.
When you saw him, did he look like flesh and blood? Or did he look, did it look like a person? Or did it look like a spirit?
No.
Look like a person?
Oh, yes.
Okay, yeah, because that's exactly how he was.
Yeah.
Like, it was just him.
Yes.
Right?
I know.
Yeah.
Me.
You were sleeping?
Yeah. There.
Something woke you. You saw him?
Yes.
And it woke you up?
There.
Okay.
I can do.
He was in the hallway?
Yes. There.
Right in front of you?
Yes.
Okay.
But. Oh.
You couldn't get up?
Nothing.
Oh.
I can't.
Was it because you were scared?
No.
No?
I can't do.
You just couldn't move?
Yeah.
He had you where you wanted you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what was it?
There.
With the lasso?
Yes.
Yeah, you had a lasso.
Yes.
You told me that.
And there you know.
And then what did he say to you?
Yeah. Good. You. I love you.
Huh.
I love you, but I can't do. Nothing.
And you couldn't say anything back?
Nothing.
And then did he just leave?
Yep.
I know why he picked you. I'm not so sure why he picked me. I don't even know whether he did pick me. I think maybe he was just kind of walking in and going up to his bedroom and saw me there, you know. I certainly believe that when he appeared to you, it was for a specific reason.
Yes. Yep.
I always considered my Uncle George always trying to kind of lead my father in the direction that he knew he should be going to. My Uncle George had a lot of love and respect for my father. And when he saw him going a certain way that he didn't agree with, I think he certainly felt that it was his job to kind of bring you back.
Yes. Hmm.
big letters here.
Yeah.
The first word's love.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
The second word is hope.
Yeah, I can do.
For aphasia. He
Yes.
has written aphasia, which is what has happened after the stroke. My father's inability to communicate using as many words as he used to, because he certainly has no problems communicating. But he's saying that the gifts that he gave him was love and hope.
Yes.
To get through.
Thank
the
you.
aphasia.
Yes, I know. Good.
I think it's definitely, I mean, if there's one thing I could add, is it's certainly not something to be afraid of.
No.
And I think
No.
it's kind of funny that a lot of sort of the paranormal stories you hear, you know,
Yeah.
you know, with the creepy music, and yeah, I guess it's scary, the idea of it, but I think once you kind of know it's there, it just makes sense.
Oh, yes.
You
Yeah.
know, it just makes a lot of sense.
Good.
And certainly not something I'd be scared of happening again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Steve's encounter with his Uncle George's ghost changed him once again. He overcame his anger and his depression, and he got on with his life. Today, Steve's mission is to let the world know about aphasia. With the help of friends and his own wonderful ability to communicate without words, Steve is a successful motivational non-speaker. Carolyn and Steve's story is unusual for another reason, besides the colorful characters. Their description of Uncle George's ghost is very corporeal. Most ghost stories involve spirits that are nowhere near so physically fleshed out. Chris Simons had a brush with the supernatural that wasn't as emotionally charged, but it was still powerful enough to change his mind about ghosts. Chris had just moved into a new apartment with a new roommate.
We were just, you know, good buds, and really fortunate in finding this house on Brock. We had the 2 upper floors. The second floor had 3 rooms, a bathroom, and a kitchen. And then above that was the attic. That was my roommate's space. One day, during breakfast, told me, just rather matter-of-factly, there's a spirit in my room. And, you know, at this point in time, getting used to her saying bizarre things like that, I was like, oh, yes, pass the croissants. And she would tell me that this was a male spirit. And a male spirit, that's great, butter please. And she would go on, but the one thing that she did say for sure was that this spirit, she wasn't afraid of it. She didn't have any feelings of fear or anything, that this spirit was there to protect her. I just kind of didn't really think much else about it until later. And then one day, her boyfriend came over. I was in my room, and there was about a half hour of silence. And then I heard her boyfriend scream. And there was a lot of commotion going on upstairs, and he came running down the stairs, half-dressed, carrying his clothes, and he just went right out the door. And when my roommate came down, I asked her, what happened? What was that all about? And she said that she was doing some work on her computer, and he was just relaxing on the bed. And he said that he felt a cold hand grab his leg. Knowing her boyfriend, I did not think that he would, you know, entertain those type of things. So when he went running out screaming, that's when I started to think, there's something going on here. My roommate and I talked about it, and she said it definitely was the spirit protecting her from her boyfriend, who turned out to be not a nice person. I can't say that I didn't believe, but I mean, I just had no proof. It was one of those things I would like to believe. Like when you were younger, you like to believe that there was a tooth fairy and there was unicorns and things like that. There's no way that you could ever deny or doubt once it actually happens. roommate was away for the weekend, and I was home alone. I think it was about 2:30 Sunday morning. I woke from my sleep because there was somebody in the room. And with the way I was lying in bed, I could see my room. I could look around, and there was nobody there that I could see, but there was definitely a presence in the room. And then probably about, I would say about a meter away from my head, I heard, which I could only describe as somebody clearing their throat. I didn't know what to do. I was getting very cold, I was petrified. I mean, I really could not move. I just could not move. And I think that the tension that I put myself in physically and mentally was like so much I actually thought that I was going to explode. And just at that moment, say like about this far from my head, focused cold breath accompanied with a male voice that went, "Hey," like right in my ear, as if like somebody was trying to get my attention. I grew up with a friend a long time ago when I was living in Brampton. She used to do ghost chasing. She said when you do encounter a spirit, the only thing that you really can do is communicate, try to talk to them. For lack of any other, ideas, I spoke out loud. I explained that my roommate was not here. She was away for the weekend. She'll be back on Monday. And I said, I'd like to go to sleep now. It seemed like a really long moment. I didn't know if I was waiting for something to happen, and the stairs leading up to the attic were creaking. Not pronounced steps, like actual footsteps, but the stairs were creaking all the way up. The feeling of somebody in the room, the feeling of the presence went away, but in its place, it was a thick feeling of loneliness. I felt really, really, really alone. And like that helpless alone. And that pretty much stayed all through the night. I don't think I fell asleep. It actually did plague my dreams for a while. I started having pretty crazy dreams and nightmares, and which just prolonged that sensation of talking to somebody who wasn't there. My roommate did come back on Monday, and I told her about it. Of course, she was excited. She was giddy about it. And I said, okay, that's fine, you and Casper can hang out, but I'm leaving. So I'm moving. And about a month later, we moved to a new place. We left in such a hurry. We left a lot of the stuff behind, a lot of furniture, a lot of pots and pans and cutlery, and gone. We went to a new place, and that's it. Never looked back.
Chris and Carolyn's reactions are typical of their generation. They both firmly believe they really did run into entities from the other side, but they see no need to relate it to any organized religion. That attitude represents a significant shift in North American values. 50 years ago, cultural values were different, and those who thought they'd stumbled across the supernatural generally needed validation by religious institutions. For many young people today, the opposite is true. They don't trust institutions, including religion, to tell them what is true or not. Their spirituality is very much their own, outside of any organized religion. They simply believe, what they believe.
It's really calming and
Yes.
makes you feel good to kind of even say, you know, I don't know about some sort of things, rather than being, you know, sit down about I believe in this, I don't believe in that. I'm kind of open to a lot of more
Yes.
things than I used to be. And I certainly feel lucky.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I feel really lucky to be able to have experienced that, because, I mean, only the people that have experienced it, I mean, you can talk about it and joke about it, but
No.
really, it's amazing. You know, I mean, having a connection with someone when they're alive is something that's so incredible and invaluable, but having a connection with somebody still after they've passed on is something that
Yes. Yes.
is truly
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all made up of energy. Energy is everlasting. Energy is forever. When we die, that energy goes out into the world. It just goes out there. I do believe in spirits. I do believe in ghosts. I believe in the other world.